Hi, I'm Brittany. I am the maker at ancestralskincare.co. I was born and raised in California. I know people think of California as LA and San Francisco, but not that. Tiny Cowtown, California. I was involved in 4-H. I showed and had my own little breeding stock of sheep. And kind of in the ag world then, my grandpa did have 60 acres of walnut and olive trees, also grew alfalfa and corn. But when I was 18, I moved away from that, away from the farm, away from everything. I moved to Hawaii. My entire family was still in our hometown. So it took a big leap, ended up going back home for a little bit, and then moved to Colorado for my job. And then, so we lived in town, we bought a house in town. We wanted to be in the country, so we bought a house in a subdivision of 100 houses in the middle of the country because it was the closest thing we could get to our dream. So when COVID hit, we kind of decided like, all right, we've wanted property, we should do this. So we started looking. Actually, a neighbor put their house up for sale for a decent price over what we had bought for. And 3 weeks later, we put an offer in on our gorgeous farm. No real experience in our adult lives. My husband, none at all. He was born and raised city boy. No real agriculture experience at all. And just jumped in. The house came with 6 chickens, and those were the first chickens I think either of us had pet or cared for. And then I think 3 months later, we brought home our first 5 beef cows. I brought home milking goats, which I quickly realized were not for me. Tons of chickens. We raised our first round of meat birds and processed them ourselves. And from that point, our homestead turned to how do we raise more food, provide more for our local community, people who can't raise their own meat, people who don't want to raise their own meat. And so I had told my husband, okay, this is where it changes. And that our first year we raised 60 birds for us. We raised 13 turkeys for other people's Thanksgiving dinners. And then last year we raised 220 meat birds, processed them all ourselves for our local community, processed 4 calves, and have some pigs now, and just trying to give other people what we are able to do for ourselves, provide pasture raised meats, local, eggs, produce that doesn't have sprays or chemicals or travels from thousands of miles away. So our little homestead quickly turned into our little farm, little ranch. And then when we processed the cows, the whole not wanting any part of the animal to go to waste came about again. And after researching beef fat for weeks, I decided I was going to make beef fat for faces. And that's how the tallow company came around. Just again, in a way, providing nutrients and moisture for other parts of our community or other parts of the country that, don't have access to it or can't make their own tallow for whatever reason. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here with me today, Brittany. Very excited to have you on as one of our new approved products, Ancestral Skincare by Wilverding Ranch. And I just wanted to bring you on here to talk a little bit about your business, yourself, and your story. And I want to hear the inspiring story that you just told me a few seconds ago.
My husband and I started a small farm just 2 years ago with the intentions of just providing for ourselves, being closer to our food source. During COVID, when the grocery store shelves were empty, that was a very scary time. So we jumped in and bought some property very on a whim, like within 3 weeks of us deciding, okay, let's do this. So we bought some property, started a farm, and then that's kind of where the tallow skincare comes in. Is we had processed some cows and I didn't want anything to go to waste, and spent weeks researching beef fat and found that it's super nourishing and wonderful for your skin, and just kind of jumped in and started making some samples to send to friends, and they loved it. And so I started producing and selling. In that time frame, we did learn that obviously grass-fed and finished beef is much better than how our cows were finished. So I found the farm that we source from and started sourcing the purest tallow that we could get for our skincare products.
So, and if you don't mind, first of all, let's back it up just a little bit about the tallow and the beef fat. So I know you have a lot of folks watching here that aren't heavily into agriculture, that may just be consumers that are just coming by looking for the next product that they might be interested in shopping for, or the next website they might want to check out from you guys. Run me through what exactly is tallow? How do we get from beef fat to tallow, and why would people want tallow?
Perfect. Yeah. So specifically the fat around the kidneys is the cleanest and highest concentrated in nutrients. And so you take that pure fat and you render it down, and then you got my jar right here, and then you get your tallow. And so this is what we use for all of our skincare at room temperature. It's a solid, and then we melt it down and it forms liquid gold essentially. So we whip it with some organic oils and essential oils, and we get your skincare products.
And what kind of benefits might someone expect? And I know maybe you can't speak to everything that it will definitely do, but what are some of the benefits that people typically associate with using tallow?
Right. So it's super moisturizing first and foremost. It does have a lot of vitamins A, D, K, and E. Vitamin E is, in almost every skincare. It's super hydrating, anti-aging. It's good for any type of rash. I put it on everything: cuts, rashes, eczema. Yeah.
Very cool stuff. So, and I know you said that you went through a process of finding out which fat you were going to end up going with to make your final product, the tallow that you end up producing. And along the way, you ran into an American Grass-Fed Association producer and long-term member of ours, who you actually share the same creek with, from your farm to their farm. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and who you're sourcing your tallow from?
Yeah, so we source our tallow from Flying Bee Bar Ranch in Strasburg, Colorado. They're literally 15 minutes away from us. And like you mentioned, yeah, I think it's super special that our creek bed runs through their property also. So our cows are grazing off the same, grasses as their cows.
Very cool. So talk to me about, everyone makes their product special in some way. What's special about your tallow?
Ooh, so I think, and from my research, a lot of tallow makers will use a wet rendering method. And I actually do a dry rendering method, meaning my tallow is just pure in the pot with no water, no salt at all added. I think that it is just a more pure product. Sure, it's not maybe perfectly white like another tallow maker's, but at the same time, the whole basis of this skincare line is a whole natural product. And so I didn't want to change anything with that, with any additives. So I made the decision to dry render. Might be a little less white. It might have a tiny more been a hint of beef than another maker's, but I think it's just the most pure form and the most nutrient dense that we can be putting on our body.
That's amazing. That does make a special product. So purity is definitely key, and I love to see that in your process. So one of our new AGA approved products, I always like to ask folks, I always like to understand their thinking behind getting into that AGA approval. What made you look into becoming an AGA approved product?
Yeah, so again, going back to just a pure product. And with all the greenwashing that there is out there on labels, I knew that I could sell it as grass-fed, grass-finished, just like a lot of other tallow makers. But to me, having the approval really showcased our products compared to, you know, some others. And it's really just proving that it is the purest and the best.
I thought it was really cool how you were talking about, you know, you started off with the homestead in your family just to be able to provide food for yourselves, which is really cool. And I think how we see a lot of the folks that are in our organization getting towards the next step and feeding their community, which I think is just like a really important job, probably one of the most important jobs that we'll ever come across, is the folks that are helping us put food on our tables. You know, how does that same maybe concept translate into your tallow business?
So when I first started making tallow, I had a couple friends interested, and so I sent them samples and they loved it. And so I, you know, took a chance and I made an Etsy account and posted on our Instagram, hey, we're selling this, you know, natural, sustainable, nourishing product. And if you want some, here it is. And there was a lot of interest. And so now this is just another way that we can bring nourishment from the farm to other people, and especially outside of our community. We don't sell meat outside of Colorado. So this is a way that we can sell a product that other people outside of our state can benefit from.
And what is like your favorite part about being able to make this tallow and deliver it to members of your community and abroad?
Oh gosh, all of it. Probably the feedback, like hearing people love the product and hearing, you know, rashes go away, or you know, one girl had a rash on her face and had been there for years, and she made an appointment with the dermatologist, and I sent her some tallow and she ended up canceling the appointment because her rash was cured. But I really love just that I have a million ideas at any minute, and this one stuck, and this is one that people love, and I am so passionate about. I go to work and start talking about beef fat for faces, and my coworkers are like, what? I'm like, no, it's really good for you, you know? So just, yeah, getting to give other people this form of nourishment for their bodies and get them away from chemicals. I mean, there's how many chemicals on any given lotion or sunscreen that we're putting on our body. So to give a pure form of that.
Yeah, I mean, people are spreading tons of chemicals on themselves every single day, and your skin is like your biggest organ, right? So anything
Right.
you're putting on there, just soaking it right into your body. So that's when purity matters, when having the best thing possible matters, when it's going ultimately inside of you.
Right. It's literally food for your skin, essentially.
So I love hearing everything about this. I know that myself as well as others are probably interested in finding out where we can learn more about what you're offering there. Can you tell me about a little bit about where we might be able to learn more about your business and what you offer?
Yeah, so you can go to our Instagram, ancestralskincare.co. Wilverding Ranch on Instagram also is where it all started. Care for funny farm shenanigans, kind of some tallow stuff. And then on Etsy, etsy.com/shop/Wilverding Ranch for now. And our website should be up and running soon, ancestralskincare.co.
Very cool. And I want to thank you for taking the time with me today. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else does as well.
Thank you.
And I hope to hopefully have you on in the future to talk more tallow at some events and whatnot for American Grass Fed Association. Welcome to the
Perfect. Thank you.